Are you thinking about buying a home in the Washington, D.C. area and wondering what should I absolutely avoid? It's a smart question because the wrong type of property can cost you serious time, money, and a lot of stress. I bought homes, sold homes, and helped a lot of people do the same. And in this video, I'm breaking down the top types of homes you should never buy in D.C. I'll also share some bonus tips most buyers don't think about. So by the end, you should know exactly what to steer clear of. If you're new here, my name is Brad. I'm a local real estate agent making videos about living in Washington, D.C. Okay, let's jump right in. Let's start with one of the biggest red flags I see in older homes around D.C., and that's outdated electrical wiring, especially knob and tube wiring. If you're looking at homes built before the 1940s, there's a good chance the kind of wiring is still hiding behind the walls in some homes. It's called knob and tube because it literally runs through these little ceramic knobs and tubes. It might have been fine 100 years ago. It's just not built for the way we use electricity today with our laptops and espresso makers and turbo vacuum cleaners. The biggest problem, there's no grounding wire. That means a higher risk of electrical shock or even fire, especially if the system has been modified over the years. Now, here's where it gets expensive. Rewiring a house can cost anywhere from 10 grand to 30 grand or more, depending on the size of the home and how accessible the wiring is. And in DC, with our row houses and historic properties, it's rarely a simple job. Insurance is another issue. Many insurance companies won't even write a policy on a home with active knob and tube wiring or may charge you a higher premium. And it's not the only thing to watch out for. There's also aluminum wiring, common in homes from the 1960s and 70s. There's some of those in DC. Those can overheat at the connections if it's not been properly corrected. So what should you look for during a showing or inspection? I like to keep an eye out for the two-pronged outlets, the ones that have no ground. If you have to pull out that third prong on your, vacuum cleaner, that's not good. I look for an old fuse box instead of a modern breaker panel, or sometimes you can see the actual ceramic knobs or old wiring in the basement or an attic. So what's the bottom line? If you're considering an older home, doing a home inspection is important. And if there are concerns during that inspection, then we may want to bring in a licensed electrician. We may want to find out whether it's a manageable fix or a potential money pit. I would say this happens not often in DC, unless you're looking for a specific property like something to flip where the home is really old, but it's just something to be aware of. Okay, speaking of what's behind the walls, let's talk about homes that have been flipped by investors or LLCs, because not all renovations are created equal. In a city like DC or the Washington, D.C. area where so many homes are over 100 years old, it's common to see properties that have been completely gutted and renovated, often by investors or LLCs looking to flip the home for a quick profit. Not all flips are bad, but here's the problem. Some are done by inexperienced contractors using cheap materials and unskilled labor. They typically focus on the cosmetic upgrades like new paint, trendy fixtures, maybe some quartz countertops. But underneath, the electrical, plumbing, or foundation may have been ignored or patched together just enough to sell. If you walk in the house and start seeing rushed finishes like uneven floors, sloppy paint lines, or low-end builder-grade materials, it's usually a red flag. These homes may look great in the photos, but they often have deeper issues hiding behind the walls. And if the work was done without permits, that's another major concern. It means no oversight, no inspections, no guarantee that the renovations were done to code. So what can you do to avoid buying a bad flip? You just got to look beyond the surface. Don't be distracted by the new backsplash. Ask for permits, contractor info, inspection records. Pay attention to the small details, because if the finishes are sloppy, chances are the stuff you can't even see is even worse. Fixing a bad flip can cost you tens of thousands of dollars and turn what looked like a move-in ready home into a money pit. So take your time, ask the right questions, bring in a smart home inspector who knows how to spot the red flags. So let's say the inside of the home looks good. Don't forget to check the outside. I know that sounds obvious. this, but let's talk quickly about something you may not have heard of before that can cost you big if you miss it, and that's tuck pointing. It's also referred to as brick pointing. If you're buying an older home in DC or Alexandria or maybe one of the surrounding cities, especially a classic brick row house, on the exterior, the mortar in between the bricks starts to wear away. It's just what happens with age, weather, and decades of wear and tear. When that mortar deteriorates, you see cracks, gaps, or crumbling joints. It can lead to water getting inside the house, damaging the interior, and even causing structural issues over time. It's not just about the cosmetics. Tuck pointing is essential maintenance for protecting the home. And the interior damage is something you definitely do not want to deal with. And here's the kicker. Fixing it isn't cheap. Tuck pointing can cost anywhere from $5,000 to $30,000 or more, especially if it's a larger home, and you may even be required to use specific materials and contractors approved by the city. So, how do you avoid this? When you're looking at an older home, you want to step back and examine the mortar. Does it look fresh and clean, or is it cracked and crumbling? Some inspectors can specifically look at the masonry, and if there's signs of concerns, there are tuck pointing companies that do free estimates, because once water gets in, the problems only get worse. Now, if you're leaning towards a condo, there are a whole different set of things you need to watch out for. Condos and co-ops can offer a lot of convenience, especially in DC, but they do come with their own set of risk that you want to be aware of. So let's start with the monthly condo fees. These can cover, of course, things like maintenance, insurance, front desk staff, amenities, and building reserves. In older buildings especially, those fees can be surprisingly high, and they almost always go up over time, particularly if the building hasn't been well managed. One of the biggest financial risks is what's called a special assessment. This is when the building needs a major repair, like a new roof or elevator, and there's not enough money in the reserves to cover it. When that happens, the cost gets passed on to you and the other owners, and sometimes that means writing a check for thousands out of nowhere. That's why reserves matter. A well-run building should have a healthy reserve fund for long-term upkeep. If it doesn't, not only are you more likely to face assessments, it could also affect your financing, your insurance, and your resale value. Another red flag, deferred maintenance. If the building has been ignoring problems like roof leaks and outdated systems, plumbing issues, those small issues eventually become major ones that can affect multiple units. And if you're in one of those units, you're stuck dealing with fallout. So now let's talk co-ops. They're a different animal. Some don't allow conventional finance, or they might have strict rules about renovating or even reselling. You often need board approval, and that process can be a little slower and subjective in some buildings. Also, be sure to ask if the building is involved in any lawsuits, legal issues. That can scare away lenders and it certainly stall sales. Also, don't forget to review the building's rules and restrictions for things like pet policies and short-term rental limits. All these can impact your lifestyle or your investment plans. So what's the bottom line? Don't just fall in love with the unit. Make sure you understand the health of the building, the strengths of the reserves, and the rules you'll be living under. Ask for the financials, the meeting minutes, and any planned assessments before you move forward. The good news is that you have a review period once the condo or co-op docs are provided to you. You have the right during this period to cancel purchase contract if there are any items that concern you. And speaking of ownership structures, here's a lesser known but important one to watch out for. Homes built on leased land. In this scenario, you own the home or condo itself, but not the land underneath. Instead, you or the condo association is paying a monthly or an annual lease to a separate landowner to essentially rent the land. Most lenders are not comfortable with this, especially if the lease has less than 30 years remaining, and resale can definitely be harder too once you own the unit. Now, This isn't super common in the Washington area, but it does exist. I know of at least a couple of buildings, and they're actually nice units with beautiful views. And for some people, this could make sense, as the properties tend to be valued much lower because they have an expiration date, essentially. Just make sure you understand who owns the land, what that lease agreement looks like, because it can have a big impact on your long-term investment. And the closer it gets to the lease expiration, typically the less value there will be in the home. Another thing many buyers overlook until it's too late is whether a home is in a flood zone. Certain parts of DC have a history of flooding. There are some neighborhoods that are prone to flooding, and if the home is in a FEMA designated flood zone, you'll likely be required to carry flood insurance. That insurance isn't cheap. It can add hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars per year to your monthly expenses, and that's on top of your regular homeowner's insurance policy. However, it's not just about costs, it's about the risk. If the basement is finished and you're looking at a row home with a below-grade entry, water intrusion can lead to major damage, mold, expensive repairs. You definitely don't want to deal with that. And with the climate trends, it could mean some areas are becoming more risky over time. So what should you do? Always check the FEMA flood map that's online, or ask me or your agent if the property is in a floodplain. You can ask the seller if the home has ever had water issues or filed a flood insurance claim. Now, they're supposed to be honest. They may not always be honest, but you can ask. It's worth some research up front to avoid a surprise down the road. There are certainly a lot of things to look out for when buying a home, and the ones I covered so far are some of the most common red flags you'll run into here in the Washington area, but it's certainly not an exhaustive list. Of course, there are big ticket items that apply to just about any home anywhere, like the HVAC system and the roof and the plumbing. An updated HVAC system can make life miserable, especially during DC's hot, humid summers. If the system is over 15 years old or clearly struggling, replacing it could easily cost $10,000 or more. The same goes for the roof. If it's nearing the end of its lifespan, that's a major expense waiting to happen. Now, in DC, sellers are supposed to disclose the age of the HVAC and the roof, but that doesn't always mean they know for sure if they're not the original owners of the home. The good news is a qualified home inspector can look for signs of concern during the inspection, assuming they have access to the roof and mechanical systems. If I didn't cover one of your questions or maybe a topic you had in mind, all my contact information is below in the description and on the screen, so feel free to text or email me anytime. And of course, if you're thinking about buying or selling in the DC area, I'd love to be your go-to real estate resource. Now that you know which types of homes to avoid, you might be wondering where are the best places to buy. Click this next video where I break down the best and worst places to live in DC this year. It can certainly help you figure out where to focus your search.